Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Coach Charles here. So 2023 has officially ended and we are now hoping for another great year of boxing as we progress through 2024. We've seen many top-notch matchups: Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia, Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford, and Inoue against Fulton and Tapales. So lightweights and welterweights. Now we don't want the fire in the fireworks to fizzle out, so we are moving up ever so slightly from the light and welterweights to the middleweight. And it's the super middleweight division in particular that I'll focus on today. So we have Canelo, who is the current reigning undisputed super middleweight champion. He has all the belts and all the silverware for the division. However, in any good saga or conflict, we have two other antagonists who are vying for that same power position. David Benavidez is one of them, a tall Hispanic US fighter who is currently undefeated, is a real gunslinger as he possesses perhaps the fastest hands in the division and knows how to finish off his opponents, seeing that he has a high knockout percentage ratio. The second boxer, who represents perhaps the beginning of a new era in the world of boxing, is none other than Cuban boxer David Morrell Jr. Now, many of you may be wondering what I mean by stating this, and I will let you know. When we think about amateur boxing, we know that Cuba is particularly good. To be frankly honest with you, that is more of an understatement. They are head above heels the best in terms of performance, technique, ability, and the number of world champions and Olympic champions since their inception to amateur boxing in the 1960s. Now, Cuba is currently functioning under a communist system, and at one point it was considered dystopian, but since the death of its former dictator and less strained tensions between itself and the US, it has become slightly relaxed. Now, because of communism, the state, and of course the people in charge of it, are considered the highest form of authority, almost to that of God, and thus they designate policy to be followed and adhered to by the public as opposed to considering it and deciding whether to follow it. Now, this is to limit the ability of members of the state to effectively challenge the status quo of the government by gaining influence and resources. When it comes to professional boxing, the government decided to ban it during the Castro administration. This was because professional boxing was deemed a sport that promotes and focuses on the individual and not the state. So because of these Cuban national sanctions, the world only really gets to see Cuban boxers when they participate in the Olympics or the World Championships. After traveling to these tournaments, if these boxers can defect, then they can become professional boxers. So most of the time when you watch Cubans in professional boxing, you are only really seeing Cuban Olympic boxers or world champions who were lucky enough to defect during the international tournaments. This normally results in Cuban boxers that remain in amateur boxing for prolonged periods before transitioning to pro boxing. This also accounts for less than 1% of the active boxers in Cuba who almost certainly want to go pro. So what does this have to do with David Morrell Jr.? Well, he represents a cohort of boxers that have benefited from the highly technical and disciplined Cuban school of boxing. He is among a group of Cuban boxers who have fought for the country and achieved great success on the international level. He is also a representative of a small set of Cuban boxers who have joined the pro ranks at a young age. In his case, this was 20 or 21 years of age. Most Cuban boxers that have defected in the past have been closer to the age of 30. There are quite a few boxers who defected and are all technical, well experienced, and above all else, young. I haven't even included the Olympic champion Andy Cruz in my picture here because he is also close to the age of 30, despite the fact that I still believe he will become world champion and have a successful career. Unlike Morrell, he has to adjust to the pro scene very quickly and strip himself of all the conditioning The landscape of boxing will look extremely different once highly skilled, strong, young Cuban boxers are afforded the opportunities to enter. The lack of presence of Cuban boxers in boxing is similar to the problem the heavyweight division suffers from. Just imagine if many of those fast, strong, agile basketball players that are given huge monetary incentives to play were present in the heavyweight division. This increase in competition would no doubt improve the quality of the boxing, and this is precisely what boxing needs. So with the prospect David Morrell Jr., it should be noted that he is a tall, 6'1", super athletic and highly technical practitioner who fights like a boxer conditioned for the hurt business. He is exciting, dynamic, and with his 90% knockout ratio, he is notoriously deadly in the ring. A fight against Canelo would certainly be a mega fight. Canelo holds all the belts, and with him holding the WBA super belt, Morrell is next in line to challenge for his belt as he holds the WBA regular belt. Negotiations for that fight at this stage would prove hard, as the other belts also hold rankings for boxers such as David Benavidez, who sits higher in the pecking order. He is the WBC interim champion, has more notable fights, and as mentioned before, is equally dangerous in the ring. Also, David Morrell Jr. doesn't have the big fan base that will ensure both him and Canelo cash out big on the earnings for that fight. There is a recommendation that perhaps David Morrell Jr. should fight someone like Caleb Plant to increase his popularity and develop him as a household name. If he wins, this would propel his name to the forefront of public debate and his chance to fight Canelo astronomically. So for you guys out there, do you want to see Canelo and Morrell Jr. in a fight? If so, who do you think will win and how? Points or knockout? Anyway guys, that's all for now. I really hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Please remember to smash the like button if you have enjoyed watching this particular update. Leave a comment in the comment section if you want to add anything about Canelo or David Morrell Jr. So until my next one guys, peace out.